heard this clicking and dragging. And I'm like, and I pulled my 45 out, stuck my hand through the bars, and that thing went off, and the whole ceiling was just covered. And I remember this smell of burnt hair. I started asking questions, the room just explodes. And things hit, gravel wall parts hit me in the face, and I'm just standing there, looking in the room, which is now on fire. And my 2IC's like, what was that? At one point in the night, me and another buddy were laying down at the gate, facing the crash site, open carport gate. And from this direction are all the Rangers. To the right and to the left is the bad guy territory. And two local Somalis with AKs over their shoulders, just walking, talking, came from that direction, the Rangers' direction, and walked right in front of us. I looked at my buddy, he looks at me, he goes, oh, well. And once they got out of line of sight from the team across the street, he opened up, I opened up, and one dropped, and the other one ran around the corner, and then probably died too a little bit later. But it's like, the nerve, man. Did they forget we were here? And how did they get here from all the way down there, right? Who didn't shoot them from down there? They would come up. I was sitting on a window, on a bed, poking my weapon out of a window covered with bars at a house this far away, looking at wooden shutters to another window. And I could hear people rustling around in there with weapons, and you could hear them charging weapons and talking, and I just shoot through the wooden shutters, and then you hear them screaming and run out, and then you hear them later talking again, and I know they were going to open that window and do something. We're literally 3 feet apart, and I just keep shooting through the wooden shutters. So I sat there for a while, and at one point, I heard this clicking and dragging, and I'm like, I hear something, and I look down, and there's a Somalian on his hands and knees with an AK in front of him, crawling up to my window. And I tried to get my M4 out there, and I couldn't get it out there, and I pulled my 45 out, stuck my hand through the bars, and was aiming it literally at the top of his head. And I pulled the trigger, and it was so full of sand from the rotor wash, the hammer falls halfway, and it just sticks there.
You gotta be shit.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Recock it, safe, lay it on the bed. I'm like, I pulled out one of those little Austrian grenades, those little ones, and pulled the pin. And I showed it to the guy standing in the door. I was watching in the window. He's like, he just steps in the hallway, and I stuck my hand out the window again to look. I remember dropping it. I remember him looking up like, what was that, and start to move to get up, and I just laid on the bed. And that thing went off, and the whole ceiling was just covered. And I remember this smell of burnt hair. And then somebody came in screaming, what was that? And instantly I'm in trouble, right? And the guy at the door goes, he just threw a grenade. And I go, oh no, that was a flashbang. I lied, right, about it because I thought I was in trouble. And he's over there going, no, it was a grenade. I go, you're right, it was a grenade. Look at this shit. Look at the ceiling, man. What do you think I threw a grenade for? And then I'm defensive, right? And I thought, man, it didn't even hit me then. I thought, I finally got to use a grenade was my thought, Other than basic training, I got to use a grenade. And then they kept switching positions, so you'd stay awake. And I ended up being in the carport, standing up on the hood of a car to the same alleyway that I just blew that dude up in. And I could hear more rustling around. And I'm leaning against that metal roof that slopes towards me, but it drops off in the alleyway. And I'm thinking, I could slide a grenade up that way, right? And it just fall right over. And I remember thinking, but if I don't make it, it'll slide back down to us, right? So I'm like, all right, I got to really chuck this grenade. I remember having this conversation with myself, like, if I don't do this right, I'm going to frag the whole command element and my team who are in the carport taking care of 2 Rangers, which I'll get to that story. So I ended up sliding that grenade really hard up on there, and I think it hit the wall and fell down and blew up. I don't know what happened. But I ended up doing a lot of suppressive fire, because looking around these corners, you could hear people. I'm just shooting, skipping off walls, trying to keep people away versus just trying to kill people. Back in the day, you don't shoot unless you have a target, right? And it's a threat. Then it turned into suppressive fire, just to keep people away. But those 2 Rangers in the court, they were out on the corner of the building, pulling security to the west. with a saw, and there was two of them, and it was off the corner where one of my friends was pulling guard out the window at the crash site. I remember I was the one position now that had a free float. I didn't have to have a window for the time, and that was your break, And so I'm walking around going, hey, you need water, and I'm pouring water out of flower pots, because we don't have water. Pouring them into canteen cups and little pipe dripping out of the wall. And I'm like, whatever, man, we're eating iodine pills. Here's an iodine pill, now drink it, because we're so thirsty. And I remember grabbing his canteen, and I turned around, walked out the room, and I turned back around to ask him a question with my 2IC sitting in a couch in the hallway, like right here. And I turned to look at my friend, and I'm like, I started asking a question, the room just explodes. And things hit, gravel wall parts hit me in the face, and I'm just standing there, looking in the room, which is now on fire. And my 2IC's like, what was that? I go, I don't know. Just like conversational. And then it hit me, and I screamed, RPG, and I went running into the room. Because, Jake was in there, and I remember looking, you couldn't see, and I remember looking down, and I saw what I thought was his leg, and I went to pick it up, and it was this concrete beam that was on top of him, and I threw it off, and somebody else, Rick, came in to help as well, and I remember him just coming up, just groaning for air. He had all the air knocked out of his lungs, because he was leaning against that wall that the RPG hit, and that wall had dissipated the effects of the RPG other than the explosives. And it just kind of knocked his wind out of his lungs, knocked him over, and that hurt for a while, and then left a huge hole in our house, staring right at the crash site. I remember pulling the door shut, thinking, man, they can see right in here now. And I saw a glow coming out from underneath the door, like pretty soon, and I opened it up, and the couch was on fire. Because that RPG motor had snapped off. It was such a short distance that it was flying around the room still, and then stuck under the couch and caught it on fire. So now I'm running outside trying to put this, I'm filling flower pots up again, and I'm running back in there and pour it on the couch, and I'd go out and throw up because of this, the noxious, whatever that couch is made of in Somalia. Go back in there, pour more water on it, go back out and throw up from the smell, go back in and pour water and finally put it out. And I remember thinking, we have a huge open hole now. The next one's going to hit the living room, right? This wall stopped. The next one's going to hit the living room. So I ended up putting mattresses up on every wall. And when I pull a mattress, I'd lean it up against the wall, which everybody's making fun of me at the time, And I remember coming back when the house got hit with another RPG, with another one of my teammates sitting there. The mattress had protected him from all the wall flying in. I remember walking in going, see, I told you, man. A few choice words. But those two Rangers that were outside that wall, I had to run out and drag them in. And I drug the Hispanic kid in. I don't even remember his name. And the other guy, somebody else drug in the other cat, working on them. They're tore up pretty good, and the medics are working on them, and I'm just helping. What do you need? And cut his pants off of the Hispanic, and his nuts were gone pretty much. He's got shot in the butt, shrapnel or whatever, and it kind of just blown, and he was bleeding out. And I remember putting the mask trousers on him, airing him up, trying to air him up and get the pressure on him, and after packing, him with gauze. And then another teammate, another team member from across the street come over, anybody need any help? And he looks down before I got the mask trousers on. He's like, oh man, you're missing your nuts.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.